Jared Leto won an Oscar for supporting actor in Dallas Buyers Club, and his speech has ruffled a few feathers because he mentioned politics and he also mentioned the LGBT community, but people feel that he did so very vaguely. So when it comes to politics, he said the following: "To all the dreamers out there around the world watching this tonight in places like the Ukraine and Venezuela, I want to say we are here, and as you struggle to make your dreams happen, to live the impossible, we're thinking of you tonight." Now, people felt that he was being too political there. Russia was actually supposed to broadcast the Oscars, but then they decided not to, and some people are thinking it's because of his comments about the Ukraine. But I think that that's a little bit of an assumption. Apparently, they didn't want. I mean, it was a 5-hour-long thing. They didn't want to put it on, especially during all of this unrest in the Ukraine right now.
It's Putin. It was because of the
Really?
Ukraine.
Just for that little comment?
Absolutely.
That's insane.
It's the Oscars. They watch it all over the world. Nobody cares that it's 5 hours. What, they got something better to do for those 5 hours in Russia?
Probably.
No, it's propaganda 101.
What do you think people in Russia are doing? Just like sitting around and scratching their asses?
No, maybe a little vodka, you know what I'm saying?
You're the worst.
Okay.
People
No,
in Russia have shit to do.
Like, God bless the people of Russia, but there's no way Putin or somebody in his government didn't make that decision because Leto said Ukraine. Guaranteed.
Okay, so there's that element. They said that they're going to broadcast it later, but an edited version, so it's not quite as long.
How much you want to bet that the Ukraine part's not in it?
Yeah. So another part of his speech did touch on the LGBT community. And if you can remember, back during the Golden Globes, when he won the same award for his role in Dallas Buyers Club, the transgender community was very, very upset about the way he did his speech because they felt that he belittled their community. So here's what he said during the Oscars: "And for the 36 million people who have lost the battle to AIDS, and to those of you out there who have ever felt injustice because of who you are or who you love, tonight I stand here in front of the world with you and for you."
I think that the criticism of Jared Leto on this score has been some of the most unfair criticism I have ever seen. Okay. Now, in his first Golden Globe speech, when he talked about the waxing and seemed to make light of things a little bit, look, I think you could have gone either way on that. Yeah. I would have said that it was like, and it's easy for me to say because I'm not transgendered, that it was not a big deal that he was joking. Like, so I don't think we have to be somber. I don't think any of the jokes he made went over the top in ridiculing the trans community or anything like that. If he had, we'd be 100% against him. It was a joke, and they're like, no, you should have concentrated the whole speech on how that fight is really important.
Let me go ahead. I want the audience to judge for themselves, so let me read you what he said during the Golden Globes. "It was a very transformative role. I had to do a lot of things to prepare. One of the things I did was wax my entire body, including my eyebrows. I'm just fortunate it wasn't a period piece, so I didn't have to do full Brazilian. Ladies, you know what I'm talking about. And so do you, some of you men, I think." So people were upset because they felt like he was belittling the transgender community. And I have to agree with Cenk on it. I mean, he's not going to use that moment to go up there and give a speech on what's going on. Well, maybe he could, but he didn't feel like doing it at that moment. You see what I'm saying? Like, you can't take an actor and make him like the poster child for your movement. You can't force him to do that. You know, if that's not something he wants to do, you just can't force him to do it.
Some of the LGBT community have a really interesting, valid criticism of Dallas Buyers Club. They say, look, there's plenty of transgender actors and actresses. Why don't you use them instead of using Jared Leto? Okay, look, I don't necessarily agree with that. I think that if you want to have Jared, if the producers of the movie thought Jared Leto was the best actor for that, okay, right? That's their decision to make, and maybe they wanted to get more publicity. He's a more well-known actor, and it wound up working. It was a good movie, etc. Now, some people even disagree with that, but at least I get it. Like, hey, don't put somebody in there that doesn't know that role intimately, etc. Although I thought he did a good job with it, though some complaint, etc. But then to say that he's not representing them well enough in his acceptance speeches, I mean, to give you a sense of how unfair the criticism is, in my opinion, the same person who wrote that criticism of the first speech in Golden Globes then turned around and analyzed his acceptance speech here, gave him credit for, hey, at least he talked about the injustices and being who you are and all that stuff. Of course, mentioning the Ukraine and Venezuela, unacceptable, right? How dare you talk about anything but LGBT issues? So he cares about Ukraine and Venezuela? He cares about protesters? That's great. That's not bad.
Yeah.
Okay, wait. And then during the red carpet, apparently he talked about how he was really lucky to have been a part of this movie. I was like, wait, I don't even understand that criticism. So they had to explain it to me. So it turns out that was self-indulgent when he should have been talking about trans people the whole time. Come on, dude. Come on, man. That's beyond all bounds of reason in terms of criticism. And then they said that his tribute to his mother, which I thought was actually really touching, was lengthy and banal. Damn, man, that's cold. Okay, it's way too high a standard.
It really is. He's an actor. He didn't ask to be a spokesperson for an entire community of people. He's an actor playing a role. If you disagreed with how that character was portrayed, I think that that's a legitimate criticism, but because I do see how his character really pushed a lot of stereotypes about the transgender community. But to say, hey, you know what, your very short acceptance speech didn't touch on these very, very complex and nuanced issues is a little unreasonable.
Let me give them one more shout out for the fair criticism. In the movie, in the Dallas Buyers Club, the guy who has HIV, Matthew McConaughey, the main character, they say is straight, and it's based on real life events, but in real life it appears that he was not just straight. And they say he was bigoted in the movie, but in real life it turns out he was not bigoted and he was bisexual. So that's a big changing of the story, and there was no character, Rayon, which is the one that Jared Leto played. That was an amalgamation of what the writers and producers thought a trans person would act like. So those are, I think, totally fair criticisms of the movie, right? Especially because then you need a straight guy writing to the rescue of all the gay people, like they've done in movies for a long time, where a white guy comes in and rescues black people and he's the hero, or the natives and he's the hero, etc., right? So that's Hollywood 101, that's fair. But when you get into this guy who I thought did a perfectly good job in the movie, and he's giving shout outs, etc., and you say it's not enough, it's not enough, it's not enough, then you seem unreasonable.